This is the routine you're going to be sticking with for the next 30 days. You're going to be doing this 5 days per week. The first 30 days is designed to reduce pain by restoring control, not forcing flexibility or strength. Every exercise in this phase is slow, controlled, and also intentional. This first exercise is called the supine pelvic tilt. It helps reduce lower back tension. It decreases hip flexor overactivity, so it's especially helpful if you have those tight hip flexors. And it also helps with pelvic control. Start off on a mat or a soft, non-slippable but stable surface. You're also going to have a bench or a chair, and this is going to be to place your heels on top. So you're gonna lie down, and you wanna make sure that you have a 90-degree bend. So if you're far up like this, you wanna bring it closer, but you don't wanna be like so close to where you're smushed in like this. So you wanna come to where you have that 90-degree bend. Now, if you have an arch in your lower back and your lower back is not really touching the floor, you wanna slightly tuck the pelvis, just a very light tuck. You just wanna, it's almost like you're taking your ribs and you're pressing them into the floor. You're going to keep the back flat like this the entire time. You basically just want your heels on top of the bench. Now, if you do need a towel or a slight cushion, you can place that right on top of the box or the chair right underneath your heels. If you're on a chair, like a wooden chair, you might need to do something like that if it's slippery. Keeping that back flat on the floor, and then you're gonna lift up, you're gonna breathe normally, and you're gonna hold this position for 3 to 5 seconds. Then you're gonna come back down. There shouldn't be a huge effort here, so you're not gonna be like excessively squeezing the glutes or anything like that. You're just gonna breathe naturally. You shouldn't feel anything in the lower back. There should be minimal effort here, just a nice slight lift. You're gonna do 2 sets of 5 to 6 reps, each with that 3 to 5 second hold. The second exercise is called supine pelvic clocks. This helps improve pelvic control and also reduces stiffness from long periods of sitting without stressing out the spine. You're gonna lie down on a mat, and you're gonna bring your feet down flat on the surface. You also wanna have your legs about hip width apart here. In this position, you are going to be placing your hands right on your pelvis. So like right down here. And this is really just so you have a little bit of feedback and you can feel what's going on. You're also going to notice that you probably have a little space in your lower back and it's not fully in contact with the floor. That's going to be another place for feedback so you can tell if you're doing the movement properly. I want you to picture a clock. You're gonna be rotating your pelvis at 6 o'clock, so down, and then you're gonna be rotating it at 12 o'clock, up, and that's where you're gonna feel the lower back in contact with the floor. And then from this position, you are going to rotate your pelvis towards 3 o'clock, so this way, and then you're gonna rotate towards 9 o'clock, and then you're gonna come back in the middle. And then you're gonna do that all over again. So you're gonna rotate towards 6, so back, you should feel that arch right here, that space, and then rotate back to 12 o'clock, and you're gonna go back again in the front, and then just keep moving, and you're gonna do this for about 30 seconds. You're gonna do 2 rounds of this. You don't want anything else to move, so the upper back should not be moving, the hip should not be moving excessively. It's literally just a very small movement. You should not feel any pain or stress in the lower back. You're going to rest 30 to 45 seconds between the 2 rounds. The next exercise is called supine dynamic arm sweeps. This reduces upper body tension and guarding so that the lower body can start improving without interference. Lie down with your feet flat on the floor with your knees bent at that 90-degree angle, hip width apart. Now you want to make sure that your ribs are stacked and not flaring, and you do that by pressing them down and then tucking the pelvis slightly. You should feel a light lower back touch to the floor. Now you're gonna bring your hands down to your sides with your palms facing up. So your thumbs are gonna be pointing out. From this position, you're gonna make sure that your shoulders are relaxed and they're down, not shrugging. Glide them out to your sides and then up overhead. You should feel shoulder heavy at this top right here. You're gonna hold this position without arching the lower back, and then you're gonna sweep them right back down to the sides. This should feel very relaxing. You shouldn't feel any tension or any uncomfortable feeling whatsoever. Do 2 sets of 6 to 8 slow and controlled reps. Next, we're gonna do the side-lying hip internal rotation. It builds true hip control while preventing pelvic and spinal compression. Lie down on your side and make sure that your ribs are stacked underneath your pelvis. So you can bring your legs up so that has a nice 90-degree bend in the hips, and then also the knees. You're gonna also make sure that your knees are stacked, so you wanna make sure everything is nice and even. You're also gonna place the insides of your feet and place them together, stacked evenly as well. Now, there's usually a tendency to kind of like lean up like this with your head, which puts a lot of pressure in this whole area and it's not relaxed. So you wanna take your hand and bring it down here and then lie your head down and keep this relaxed the entire time. The goal is only to move the top foot up, and you're gonna hold this for about 5 to 8 seconds. You're only gonna go as far as you can. You should feel this right in here, right in this hip area. You're gonna hold, and then you're gonna come back down. You're going to do 2 sets per side with that 5 to 8 second hold, 8 to 10 times. This next exercise is the seated internal rotation liftoff. Improving your internal rotation helps with many things, but most importantly, walking without a wobble and also squatting to pick things up and just overall general stability, including single leg movements. You're going to need either a yoga block, a foam roller, or a rolled up towel. You're also gonna need a stable bench or chair. You want it to basically be hitting you right around knee height or at least close to it. You're also gonna need a stable bench or chair. You want it to basically be hitting you right around knee height or at least close to it. And the reason for that is when you sit down, you do not want your knee angle to be too high up like this. Now you're gonna place your yoga block, your foam roller, or a rolled up towel in between your knees. Place your feet flat on the floor. You want your toes facing forward, and you also want your knees pointing in the same direction as your toes. From this position, you're gonna make sure that your ribs are stacked. So you want a very neutral spine, and you want your neck and everything in a nice straight line. Shoulders back and down, no shrugging. Now you can place either your hands right here or you can place them here. It's totally up to you. Take one leg and you're gonna lift it up to where your foot slightly hovers. Now, without putting too much pressure into the yoga block, you're gonna keep contact with it and you're gonna rotate your foot out. You're gonna hold this position, not forcing it, but you should feel it right in here. This is internal rotation. You're gonna hold this for like 3 to 5 seconds, and then you're gonna come back in. One really important thing with this exercise is that your hips do not lift to make the movement. There's no twisting going on whatsoever. The only thing that should be moving is this foot coming out. Do 2 to 3 sets with that 3 to 5 second hold, 6 to 8 times on each side. Now you might notice that one side might be more limited internal rotation than the next. Maybe you're even further out, maybe you're like this, maybe you're just like this. We are working on slowly improving your range of motion, not forcing it. Next, you're going to do the supported weight shifts. This improves balance, it improves walking, and also bearing weight on one leg. Stand facing a wall. You're going to be close enough to where when you place your hands on here, you're not like having to like lean forward with your torso and you're not like far back like this. So you want it to where you're close enough to where you can keep your back straight and nothing is like leaning in. Now what you're gonna do is make sure that your shoulders are back and down. We don't wanna be shrugging. You wanna have a neutral spine and pelvis, so there's no tuck and there's no arch. You want your ribs stacked. Place one foot just a fraction behind. You are going to be starting like this. So both feet are going to be flat. Now I'm gonna show you how to make a tripod with your foot because this is important for stability. With your front foot, you're going to spread your toes. Now you're going to take the ball of your foot and you're going to kind of like try to almost squeeze it in to reach, like you're trying to reach the heel right here without scrunching your toes. It's a very small movement, so just watch here what I'm doing. See that? It's just a very small squeeze there, and that is basically just creating more stability, and it's also essentially creating a better arch. The foot forward is the one you're making that tripod with. Shift forward, but you're gonna keep everything, your hips and everything square, keeping that back straight. You're gonna shift the foot forward and you're gonna come up on the toes on the back leg. Your knee is gonna be slightly bent here and you're continuing that light tripod with the foot. If you need to place your hands on the wall for a little bit more support and balance, do so. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna come off to where the most of the weight is gonna be on the front leg. And you're gonna get to a point to where you can almost feel like you can hover your back foot. That's how little you want the pressure to be on the back foot. This is gonna be a great way to build balance. And then if you wanna kind of like test that a little bit, you can let go of the wall. You can place your hand or your fingertips on here, but the goal is not to like grab onto the wall or use this to stabilize yourself. Come back out of that. You're gonna do one side, you're gonna do 2 sets on each side, and you're going to lean back in again, slightly feel like you're gonna hover the back foot. You're gonna do 6 to 8 controlled reps of these, coming back on both feet with each rep. And then you're gonna do the other side, do a total of 2 sets. Now we're gonna work on a very short range of box squats. This is gonna help you when you get up and stand, and it's gonna also help reduce the tension in your lower back and build a little bit of strength in the glutes without putting stress on anything. Pick a height that you feel comfortable sitting down in. This would be something equivalent to a chair or something that you're already familiar with. Make sure that your ribs are not flared. Just stack them evenly by tucking it slightly and making sure that the ribs are stacked evenly over the pelvis. Also make sure that you're not scrunching up your shoulders. A lot of people put a lot of tension in their shoulders without even knowing. Now you're going to actively squeeze the glutes, squeeze the abs, brace your core. And then what you're going to do is you're going to control the descend, keeping that back upright, and then sitting down. Pay attention to your knees. You do not want them caving in. You also want to look at your feet and make sure that you have that proper tripod foot placement that I taught you. So you're gonna come up, you're gonna squeeze everything, make sure that those knees are pointing in the direct line of your toes so they're not coming in or coming out like this. And then you're gonna slow and controlled come up. It seems simple, but it really is so effective, and it just teaches better functional movements. You can do this multiple times throughout the day. You're going to see much better improvements. You want to do 2 sets of slow and controlled reps of these 8 times. And as you get better, you can change the height and go for something smaller. The last exercise that I'm going to have you do is single leg march holds. This is going to help with single leg movements and also walking mechanics. Stand sideways to a wall. You want to be close enough to where you can place your hand on here for a little bit of support if you need it for balance. Now what you're going to do is you are going to slightly tuck the pelvis so this way your ribs are stacked over the pelvis. So there's no flaring or excessive arching going on with the lower back. Now you're gonna make that tripod with your foot in this leg. This is gonna be the standing leg. So you're gonna shift a little bit to where most of the weight is going to be on this leg. You will also have a slight bend in the knee. This creates a sense of stability. You're gonna be squeezing the glutes, keeping that pelvis slightly tucked. You are going to lift up, bent at a 90-degree angle, and you're gonna hold this position for 10 to 20 seconds. And then when you're done, you're gonna slowly come back down. You see how I'm like barely putting my finger on here? This is just for support. You're going to do 2 sets of 8 reps with that hold, alternating from side to side. And then as your balance gets better, you can let go for periods of time, but not so much to where you feel like you're going to lose balance. So if you feel like you can kind of like lift up for a couple seconds, do that. But the goal here is to just gain strength in this range without irritating anything.